I'm Christine Jones DeBall. I'm a speech therapist with San Luis Valley BOCES, and I'm here today to talk about a language packet that we sent home to be used with your child who has language objectives for his speech and language therapy. I'm looking at the packet today that's the one-sheet language lessons, and I'll be working right now with the lower level language packet. It would really be useful for you in watching this video to get the packet that we sent home or to pull it up on your computer and to follow along with your packet while I go through and talk about it and give you some examples about how best to use this packet with your child. I will tell you that it's best for you to sit with your child and work with him on the language packet, him or her, on the language packet. Because this is something that most children wouldn't be able to read on their own, and the whole idea here is for them to be using language, and so we want them to have somebody to talk to. So the one-sheet language lessons packet has 15 separate one-sheet language lessons, and we want you to complete one sheet per week. Now the sheets are divided up, and I'll show you. Each of these sheets has 10 boxes, and the boxes each cover a different skill. Some of the skills overlap on the boxes, but they're intended to address a particular skill. We can kind of know what skill is being addressed in the box if we pay attention to the writing that is up and down on the side of the box. So this box is the opinion question box. And on every one of these lessons, this box will always be the opinion question box. This box has to do with the use of verbs and pronouns. This box has to do with categories. Naming categories is a very critical skill for kids to learn how to do, to not only name categories, but also to put things into categories. So we'll get to specifics on that in just a second. But I do want you to understand that each box has a certain skill set that's being targeted. Now, if you look in your packet at page 3, page 3 goes through and tells you for each box some things that you can do to promote the skill that the box is addressing. So for the opinion question box, this is how you would do working with that box. You would have your child answer the question. So you would ask the child the question. Then you would have your child answer the question, provide a reason why, and for the purposes of our home therapy right now, our home-based therapy, you may or may not choose to actually write down the whole answer in a sentence, and we do not expect your children to be writing down answers at this point. We really want to focus more on the verbal language. So if you choose to write down the answers, I think that's wonderful. It really would be good, but we understand that you guys are all, as parents, pretty busy right now, and so you may or may not decide to write the answer down in a sentence, but we do want you to have your child answer you in a sentence, and if he's not yet answering in a complete sentence, you might model that sentence for him, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So page 3 gives you really specific directions for how to utilize each box. Now let's take a look at lesson 1. So lesson 1 asks us, do you think recess should be longer? And as we saw on the explanation page, page 3, you would want to ask your child the question, and then give your child a minute to give an answer. And maybe your child might not understand the question. So do you think recess should be longer? We need to make sure your child understands what recess is. So if he doesn't, you might say, do you know when you guys go outside at preschool and you play on the playground? That's what we call recess. It's a break that you take from your classroom. Do you think you have enough time on your break? So you can reword the question. The point here is not that they have to answer the specific question exactly the way that it's said, but we want to elicit an opinion from your child. We want your child to say, yes, I think it should be longer. Your child might right now only give one-word answers. And so if he says yes, you might say, why do you think it should be longer? Do you feel like you don't have enough time? So you might prompt him with that and model a good answer if he's not able to give you that answer. We also have in this packet a series of worksheets. And so for each worksheet page, the page actually goes with the page, the box of a lesson. So for example, for your opinion question, you have a worksheet page, and on that page it says, I think and because. And if you'll notice, as we go through this and look at the worksheets, I actually have written at the top in blue, this goes with the opinion question. Some of these are pretty obvious, and some are not quite so obvious, so we'll go through it as we go through. But opinion question, that's what this goes with, and that's the box that's right here. The next box, verbs and pronouns, gives you a verb and two pictures. The first picture is a picture that we would talk about in present tense. So this is a little boy and this is a field of pumpkins. And we would say, he is choosing a pumpkin. The next picture will always show something that has happened. So here he is choosing a pumpkin. Here the boy chose a pumpkin. Or you might say the boy has chosen a pumpkin. But this is past tense. So the first picture is always present tense. The second picture is past tense. The worksheet page to use with that, the verbs and pronouns page, you can have your child make a complete sentence. And for some of our children, this is a really great tool because some of our kids don't yet make a complete sentence. And so you would look at the picture and you would help your child say, what is the boy doing? He is choosing a pumpkin. So you would finish that sentence with them. We also want to focus here on the proper pronoun, the fact that we use the word he for a boy. If it were a girl in the picture, we would say she. More than one, we would say they. But we want to work with our kids to get those pronouns right because quite a few of our little ones aren't yet using pronouns correctly, and we want to work with that as well. So we can use the boxes just to kind of help us have a cue and encourage your child to make a complete sentence. He is choosing a pumpkin. We don't have a worksheet for the past tense, but I think you get the idea. The third box is categories. Now here we have 3 children. You might ask your child to identify the categories, so you could say, what are they all? They are all what? Your child might say they are all people. Your child might say they are all children, or they are all kids. Any of those answers is acceptable. Then you might ask them to name another item that fits in the category. So here are boys and girls. They might say, a mommy is a person. Sure, yeah, a mommy is a person. A daddy is a person. So you want them to name something that fits in that category. If they're not able to do that yet, then here again is a great opportunity for you to model that. And you can say, these are all children. You are a child. So you are also one of the children. And we do have a worksheet that goes with that. So in the worksheets, I've put categories at the top here. And You could also place them, there are lots of things you can do with this particular sheet. So you can ask your child, what is this? And your child might say it's a person, or they might say it's a girl. And you might ask them, can you tell me some examples of other persons? If they can't, you could say a teacher is a person. Your uncle is a person. Your sister is a person. You could point out a monkey is an animal. You could point out this is food. And this will go along with the different lessons. As you work your way through the lessons every week, the lessons will match the categories as well. You could ask your child, for example, this is a food. Pizza is a food. Can you name 3 other foods? And so you can really work with categories. And again, this is something that gives you an idea of a skill that your child needs to develop. And this is something you can do throughout the day. When you go outside, you can say, well, look at this. This is a slide. This is a swing. They are all playground equipment. So you can really help your child by giving examples of categories and asking your child to name a variety of things within a particular category. With our categories box, we can also look at the worksheet that shows compare and contrast. And so we've got 2 little circles here. If I'm looking at the category of a person, so for example, I might look at all of these people and I might say, let's compare and contrast these kids. So this little girl is a person who has long hair. This little boy is a person who has short hair. So we can think about how to compare and contrast using this worksheet. And in the worksheet, in the middle here where it says both, we would put how they are the same. They are both people. And I might show the girl and the boy, and the girl has long hair and the boy has short hair. So when we talk about compare and contrast, we just want to talk about how things are alike and how things are different. They are alike because they are both people. The girl has long hair and the boy has short hair. So we're doing a very simple compare and contrast. How are they alike? How are they different? And that goes, again, with the categories box. So now we have a box. Clap your hands, then jump twice. This is the box for 2-step directions. And your child, really, they usually enjoy following 2-step directions. And you'll notice it's called 2-step directions because there are 2 specific things for them to do. So when we're working with kids in therapy, we like to get their attention first and make sure that they're paying attention. So you want to make it kind of exciting for them. All right, I'm going to tell you something to do. I'm going to give you 2 things to do. Are you ready? Are you listening? Okay, get ready. Clap your hands, then jump twice. Watch your child. See whether or not your child is able to do that. If your child does it, give him a lot of praise. If your child is not yet able to, you can practice with him. You can show it to him with him. Let's do it together. Clap your hands, then jump twice, and you're both doing it. In the worksheets, the worksheet that goes with 2-step directions is this one. So here's our 2-step directions at the top. And the worksheet shows first and last. And again, you may choose or not choose to really do this activity by having your child draw a picture or you drawing a picture. But the idea is you want them to think in terms of first and last. You could ask them, retell, what did you do when you did that activity? And your child could say, first I clapped, then I jumped. And so we want to work on these sequencing concepts. At the same time, we want to work on their ability to listen and to follow the directions. The next box has to do with concepts. And concepts are things that tell us location, size, shape, basic ideas we want children to know. So this particular concept is the concept of full, and you can see that she has a full bucket of water here. The worksheet that goes with that one basic concepts worksheet, so you could have the word. You could have your child draw a picture, or you could draw a picture. You could talk about the opposite of it and then do a picture for that one. We also, for concepts, use this worksheet. And here I've written the word full. And I drew this picture because for a lot of our kids, they're maybe not able yet to draw a picture. And it can be a very simple picture. My picture is not very artistic because we don't have to be artistic, and I'm not. But this is a picture that is showing, if you can explain it to your kid, you might need to explain it. This is a plate of spaghetti. There are 2 meatballs and then a whole bunch of spaghetti. And I would say, my plate is full of spaghetti. This plate is now empty after I eat the spaghetti. And then you could talk about synonyms and antonyms. What's a synonym for full? To be honest with you, this one was a tough one for me to just come up with off the top of my head. Full isn't one that has a ready synonym, but synonyms could be packed. My plate is packed full of spaghetti. My plate is overflowing with spaghetti. So they're words that mean about the same, or you could use opposite words. This plate is empty. You could talk about meaning. How could you remember it? And use it in a complete sentence. For some of our younger kids, they're not going to be able to talk about meaning so much and not use it in a complete sentence, but you can model that for them. So you can say, this plate is full. This plate is empty. And that's a complete sentence that your child, when they hear that model, they're learning language. With concepts, we also have a vocabulary dice game. And so if you have a die at home, you could have your child roll the die and then do whatever's on the number. So I'm going to roll my dice here, and I got the number 3. So I would say, okay, I'm going to draw a picture of the word. And again, some of your kids may not be yet able to draw a picture. You could draw one for them. Just really simple, really quick, anything that would illustrate the word. Okay, our next box has to do with count the syllables. This is a picture of an apple. And apple is a word that has 2 syllables. Apple. You could have your child clap with you to say it. Apple. You could, some folks like to count on their arms, so you could go apple. So we want to break the word down into the number of syllables. And again, if you look at page 3 in your packet, it also gives you some additional ideas for things to do with that in that box. And we have a worksheet to go with that one, count the syllables, and so you can ask your child some questions about it. What category is it? In the case of apple, it would be the category of fruit or maybe food. What does it look like? What does it do? Well, an apple might not do anything, but you could ask, what do we do with it? Well, we eat it. Where would you find it? What does it remind you of? And sometimes there are multiple answers. Where do you find it? Some kids are going to say you find it in a grocery store. Some kids are going to say you find it on a tree. Either answer is correct. So we just want them to start using their language and answering these questions. And there's also a dice game for count the syllables. So here again, get out your dice, and you can have your child roll, and if he rolls a 1, ask him, what category is it in? Make it a game. Next box is for rhyming. There really aren't worksheets for rhyming, but we would simply look at the word and ask our child to give some words that would rhyme with what it shows. In this case, it's a bat. So we would say, can you tell me a word that rhymes? And some of our younger kids aren't yet able to give you a rhyming word, so you could make a game of it and say, I'm going to say 2 words. You tell me if it rhymes with bat, cat, dog. Which word rhymes with bat? And you could kind of play with that with them. Next box, problem solving. It gives you a problem. So this one says you open a present and you don't like it. So we have a worksheet you can use with that. For problem solving, you use the sheet that says how many people are involved, so you can kind of have a discussion with your child. Some of your younger kids, you're not going to be able to get as much involvement, but for some of our older children who are using this language packet, this is a really great way to encourage some conversation about the problem and possible solutions for it. Next box, multiple meaning words. This is a really, really crucial skill for kids to have. We want kids to be able to talk about words that mean something different. So fly, for example, can mean the insect that buzzes around and lands on your food. Fly can also mean the action of soaring through the sky. I can fly, a bird can fly. Fly might mean the zipper on your pants. So words that have more than one meaning. And again, if your child can't think of those, then you could model those for him. You could use objects around your house to help illustrate this. So I would look around the house and I would look for a pair of pants and show the kids, hey, this is a fly on a pair of pants. Or you can look for a picture in a book or a magazine or on your phone and show them a picture of a fly and then talk about how fly can mean different things. And so on each one of these worksheets, you do have multiple meaning words. And we want to encourage kids not only to know the meaning, but also to be able to tell us, to explain what a fly is. So we want him to say, a fly is an insect that flies around. We want him to say, fly is an action that means that we are going through the air. With our multiple meaning words, we do have a worksheet that kind of gives you an idea. And here again, you don't have to write it out. You could just make a check mark if you want that, or you don't have to use the worksheet at all. But just this kind of gives you an idea that we do want your child to know at least two meanings for each of those multiple meaning words. And at the end, the last box is a short story. Notice that each story has an illustration and then the short story. So you can start by having your child look with you at the picture. Maybe your child would want to color the picture, and then you could talk about the picture. There's a WH Questions dice game for working with the story and working with, and this actually focuses on the picture. So you could do this before you even read the story. Notice then that this goes with the story, and again, it's a dice game, so you could have your child roll the dice just to kind of make it a little more fun, and ask him the questions. Who is in the picture? Where is the picture? When was the picture taken? That we might not know, but you could kind of have your child speculate, kind of talk to him about when it might have been done. Then you could read the story, and we want to read with a lot of expression and talk about the story with your child. And then some of the activities you could do around the story include the sequencing idea, where you have your child tell the story again, first, then, and last. Maybe if your child's a little young for that, you could draw a very simple picture of actions in the story and then retell the story to your child, emphasizing the language first, then, and last. You could also work with your child on these WH questions about the story. So this one goes with the story, and it asks, who is in the picture? Where is the picture? Those are all WH questions that we want your child to be able to answer. And again, if your child is not yet able to give that answer, then this is a great opportunity for you to model that language for him and talk about the story. A couple more worksheets with the story kind of goes along with the whole idea of being able to talk about sequencing in the story and tell the story. You could talk with your child about the characters. Who's in the story? Well, the character is a little girl. What's the setting of the story? This one's taking place at the beach, and it happened. If your story tells you when it happened, you can talk about when did it happen. What was the first, second event? What is the ending? And you might talk about the feelings of the characters in the story. So these are some good things to help support you in talking with your child about the story itself. This language packet is really, really chock full of a lot of great activities for your child. And when you've done these, 1 page per week, then you've really covered a lot of territory with it. This is page 2 from the packet, and you can go through and look at what is it that we are covering. We're covering concepts like size, location, shape, words that describe. We're covering irregular verbs, break, broke, fell, fall. We're covering pronouns, he, she, we, they, sequencing, first, next, then last. Story comprehension, are they able to listen to a story and understand it and talk about it? And this is a way that you can support them with learning how to do that. Problem solving with the problem box, WH questions. Phonemic awareness is the syllable activity. How many syllables does this word have? Describing, getting your child to describe some of the pictures. Tell me about this picture. What is she doing? What is she wearing? Is it big? Is it little? Multiple meaning words, following directions, vocabulary, sentence formulation. It's really a goal for language development that children be able to form grammatically correct sentences. And so this is a great way to give your child a lot of practice with that. I hope that this has been a useful tutorial for you. If you still have questions about how to use the one-sheet language lessons, please get in touch with your speech therapist, and we're all really eager to work with you and to give you some ideas of how to use this. And I'll tell you, the activities in here can be jumping off points for you for working with your child at home. You remember, you don't have to do a lesson in a day. You could literally break this down and do maybe 2 boxes a day. Maybe just do 1 box a day. You could focus on the whole idea of verbs and pronouns for an entire day at your house. And so when you're doing things around the house, talk about your dog and the fact that your dog is digging a hole. And you could say, what is he doing? And then afterwards say, what did he do? He dug a hole. So these are things that can help you have ideas for how to address language skills with your child throughout your day and as you go through your daily routine. Again, I hope this was helpful. Please call if you have any additional questions.